Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our first, our second GBTA Europe Town Hall of the year. I am joined today by Ben Park, Chair of our European Advisory Board, and we have a guest participant, Lotten Fowler, from the Swedish Business Travel Association. So in terms of what we're going to cover, or welcome, which we're doing at the minute, we're also going to do, Ben's going to give a volunteer leadership update, talking about the advisory board elections that are coming up, and also some awards. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've been doing in Europe recently, primarily around advocacy, sustainability, and then some events we've got coming up. And then we've got a discussion between Lotten and Ben on the return to travel. So this is a slightly different, less formal town hall this year, more updates and more discussion. So I'm now going to hand over to Ben to get started.
Good, thank you. And that's not my face with my email address, but I will clarify this in a second. So first of all, welcome everybody, and good to virtually connect. And I realized when looking back, the Berlin conference really was one of maybe the first conferences to happen when restrictions had been lifted. And I want to ensure that I want to really thank everybody who made it happen to come to Berlin, and especially all the suppliers who supported us and believed in us. And I still feel it was a great family reunion there, and looking really forward to latest the Brussels conference in November. But before, I want to really talk about the advisory board, the global board elections, and then as well the service awards. So for the European Advisory Board, we have been so lucky to now have representatives from GBTA Italy and GBTA France on the advisory board. And I can only let you know, it's a really, really fun group where nobody deals with politics. Everybody is laser focused on what the industry needs and is not looking selfishly at their own interest. So hopefully you will see this in the results, that there is a really good spirit on the team. And now on the next slide, we have an additional team member, which will join the European Advisory Board. And I'm so happy that we now have a representative from the Partnership Council. And this is like Hans-Ingo Biel, who I think everybody knows in Europe from VDR. And he will join now the advisory board. We have as well some seats available. And there was an email from myself going out, I think a week ago, and we got already a few coming back to us, which is really, really nice. In case you missed this email and you want to join the advisory board or interested to hear about it, then just email me under the email address here to the right, or anybody else from GBTA. If you're interested, for anybody who already sent us an email, we'll get back to you very shortly. And hopefully we can then finally set the advisory boards with all seats. Next is what was mentioned, the global board. And this is the reminder, first of all, the formal reminder for anybody who is directly a member at GBTA, that you need to renew your membership before the 30th of June to be eligible to vote. For members like me who are indirectly through their local association a member, you need to ensure that you activate or renew your membership with the GBTA. It might be a two-step process. Yeah, just ensure that your GBTA membership is valid past the 30th of June to be eligible for voting. There are 3 seats up for re-election on the global board, and it's 2 direct seats, so buyers, and 1 allied, so a supplier seat. And as a reminder, like the last votings, now all members globally can vote for all seats. So hopefully there will be some new European faces coming up, and remember, you can vote for these as well. Yeah, so that's a very important timeline, and hopefully we'll get some good participation in the voting. Last but not least, on the next slide is the reminder on one of the awards which are dear to my heart. And this is the reminder that we are looking for nominations for the Business Travel Service Award, where then the lucky prize winners will hopefully be at the Brussels convention and then enjoy their prizes. So if you have ideas about people who really are doing something for the industry, who are really not only looking at who's paying their paycheck, but as well contributing to a local committee and going far above and beyond, and you say, hey, these people should get recognized because these are the people who help the industry to move forward. So please let us know. Yeah, so the deadline is already in 48 hours officially. Yeah, so would be great if you have some nominees, and we'll share as well the contact details, how to let us know whom you're nominating for this. And yeah, with this, I want to hand it back to Catherine for some updates around advocacy and other topics.
I'm having a few technical issues this morning, so excuse me on that. Okay, so yes, Ben, thank you very much for that. And yeah, lots of exciting things. And I would really urge you, please do make sure you've got your membership up to date so that you can vote, and also use that vote, because that is the time whenever we elect our global board, and that's the board that has the responsibility for governance for GBTA overall. And then also the Business Travel Service Award. You know, that's a way in which we can recognise those fantastic volunteers who really make such a difference and, you know, are the heart of GBTA. So you can nominate yourself or somebody else. So please do that. And you know, as you may have seen over the last 2 years in particular around COVID, GBTA has a very, very active advocacy programme. We lobby for our members in Brussels, in Westminster, and in Washington. And last week, we had our first legislative summit in over 2 years, and where our members met in Washington. And by serendipitous chance or serendipity, our CEO, Suzanne Neufang, she provided expert testimony at the Senate hearing on reviving convention tourism and international travel. And of course, one of her primary messages was the importance of ending testing of travellers to the US. And lo and behold, 2 days later, this was announced. And, you know, this was on the back of many, many months of lobbying by GBTA globally to remove arbitrary testing requirements. And so we were really, really pleased to see that. A couple of weeks ago, Suzanne was over in Brussels, and as was our head of sustainability, Delphine. And so we went and met with some representatives there for AVER, the Electric Vehicle Association. We met with the head of Airlines for Europe and the head of cabinet for the Transport Commissioner. We were seeking to find common ground to educate these stakeholders in your needs, and looking for opportunities for collaboration and advocating for your interests. And I can't tell you how different this interaction was face to face than the online and virtual meetings that we've been having over the last 2 years. They're more productive, they're more meaningful, and they're, just stronger relationship building opportunities, and you can have a far more candid conversation. And so it was one of those things that really proved to me the value of what it is we do. I will also be in Brussels again at the end of this month, attending a working meeting of the European Tourism Manifesto Group. Again, making sure that the voice of business travel is heard and factored in to the discussion around how travel will return. One of the things that makes our input to these meetings incredibly valuable is the feedback and the insight that you provide through your response to the COVID polls. It helps us to carry your message to these decision makers and to these allies, and provides really, really valuable data. And so I would there's a poll still out in the market, so or out for answering. So please do, if you get a chance today, make sure to complete that survey. Now, unsurprisingly, one of the main things that we were talking about when we were meeting with these decision makers, and as part of every conversation that I have virtually at the minute, is around sustainability. And so, as you may know, at the end of last year, GBTA was doing a big push on sustainability. It's one of the biggest challenges that the business travel sector is facing, and the industry is under such scrutiny for its climate impact. Now, at GBTA, our long-term vision is to work with our members and industry to create a future where business travel can be done with a net positive impact on our people, or on our planet and people. And we have articulated our mission around the three objectives you see here. Education and research, and that's to produce the data and tools that will help our members to green business travel. Secondly, partnership and collaboration, because we can't do it alone, and we need to incubate joint solutions in partnership with all stakeholders. And thirdly, thought leadership, because we will need to rethink the way we travel and raise the bar for the whole industry. And we've already got some tangible results. We've seen a great response from our industry partners since embarking on this sustainability journey, and 18 suppliers have joined our efforts across airlines, hotels, car rental, travel management companies, and booking technologies. An executive from each of these 18 companies also serves on our Sustainability Leadership Council. And that council is defining priority areas for collaborative and global action and helping raise the bar for the business travel industry overall. At the end of April, GBTA also launched its first ever comprehensive global study across travel suppliers, travel buyers, and policy and government stakeholders to reveal the state of sustainability in the business travel industry. Now, based on input from over 860 respondents, we were able to identify actions to improve the sector's environmental performance. And even if self-assessment is not looking good, only 1 in 10 of industry respondents thinks that we are currently well advanced on sustainability. It's clear that change is underway. 3/4 of travel managers have incorporated or are planning to incorporate sustainability objectives in their travel policies. And what our industry needs is the information, the tools, and the partnerships to leverage that momentum. And this is all part of our mission and priorities at GBTA. And we've also continued our advocacy push and shared our call to action on sustainable aviation and multimodality with key policymakers in Brussels. The EU Travel Commission even proactively reached out to us after seeing our report to explore the avenue for collaboration with GBTA on sustainable travel. And I've got a meeting with our head of sustainability and representatives from this group later today. So what's next? Well, GBTA's next milestones will be to develop the necessary tools and principles to proactively shape what sustainable business travel means. And the first of these tools will be our Sustainability Toolkit, a guide for travel managers on how to minimize the climate impact of business travel. The toolkit will be structured into 12 modules organized into 3 parts, and these are all navigable under our GBTA member hub. Topics will include how to track emissions, select sustainable transport, accommodation, and source sustainable meetings and events. It recognizes the importance of managing demand by traveling smarter and partnering with suppliers that share the commitment to sustainability. And we will release the first 3 modules at convention in San Diego. We are also planning to develop supplier scorecards for each business travel sector: air, road, rail, accommodation, events and meetings, TMCs and OBTs, to harmonize the metrics and attributes to use to evaluate the sustainable performance of suppliers. We'll make this a priority project for the second part of this year once the toolkit is released. And leading by example is also a priority for GBTA, and we have been working really hard in collaboration with external partners and experts to reduce and offset our emissions and green our events. We will be releasing the results of these efforts with our members and share best practices. And speaking of events, please save the date for our first ever Global Sustainability Summit, which will take place in Brussels right before our European conference on the 8th of November. It will focus on driving action on the race to net zero, and will bring together experts, industry and policy leaders to outline concrete solutions to decarbonise business travel in alignment with the Paris climate goals. And we really hope that we will see many of you there, and we'll continue to keep you posted on our sustainability efforts at GBTA. But we've got a lot to happen before November. I'm sure you're all aware of convention, but in Europe, before we get to conference, we have our GBTA France Masterclass, which is happening on the 5th of July. And it's a one-day event, and it's always a really innovative, enjoyable, inspirational day. So I really hope either you can join us, or if you have any colleagues in France, that they can join us too. And then, as you can see, with a little bit of subtle branding, we've got our conference coming up in Brussels. The deadline for the early bird registration is the 30th of June. So I would really urge you to register and take advantage of those great savings. So that's our GBTA update. I'm now going to hand over to Ben to give you an outlook in terms of how business travel is returning.
Thank you very much. And you covered well the points about advocacy and sustainability. So thank you. And I'm really looking forward to meet as many at the first Sustainability Summit the day before the main conference. So before I'm going into the live dialogue and discussion with Lotten, which I'm so much looking forward to, let's look a little bit at data. As an economist, I can't withstand to look at data before any conversation. So hopefully bear with me, a few slides, a few numbers, and then we're going into the live dialogue. So as you know, GBTA has regularly surveyed buyers, suppliers, and stakeholders during the pandemic to get a view of what are others doing, and to be able to see market trends, and also internally to see, okay, where policies might be lifted, changed, and others. So this first one on the domestic business travel, I think it's not a surprise to anybody that 80% of the companies allow domestic travel, and there is a spike between February and April, and I'm sure in May this continues. So on this slide, the main message is most companies allow domestic travel. More important, on the next slide, is the international travel. And this is where you see on the very right, between February and April, this big spike. So a 20% jump between February and April. And now over half of the companies who responded allow now for international travel. And I'm thinking in May, this number jumped up more. And I think everybody sees this, that definitely the international travel is returning. I'm assuming why we don't see similar numbers as the domestic is the traffic to Asia might be still tougher than between Europe and North America, and vice versa. Yeah, so this is the latest numbers there. On the next slide is something which is also very visible if we ask our corporate customers how bookings have changed in the past months, and everybody who's trying to get hold of their dear travel agency will know the answer. So 88% basically see a booking increase, and I think if we would ask this in May now, it will be 100%. But it's just the confirmation that basically it's a huge jump in the last months over booking numbers. On the next slide is the important factor of willingness to travel. And this is honestly, personally, a surprise to me, the numbers there, that in this case here, like if we add these numbers, the majority, like 93%, are somewhat willing to travel. I would have personally expected some people to be more restrictive and saying like, hey, I'm not sure if I need to travel. I enjoyed so much working from home and COVID is still there. So, but this confirms from all the ones who responded that really, maybe my opinion is the outlier, but the majority of people are willing to travel, which is a good sign, because this means the safety protocols from suppliers and all this seem to be working and people feeling comfortable. On the next slide, the survey if we go to the next one. Yeah, thank you. This was basically around the non-essential domestic business trips and international business trips. And there you can see as well for the domestic one in Europe, especially, like almost 90% said that they allow for domestic non-essential business trips. Yeah, so the internal meetings, connecting with colleagues, all this one, and a little less on the non-essential international business trips, with just shy of 80%. So it seems like this is also a high number on the non-essential international business trips. And I'm looking so much forward then to the next results. But basically, this is, I think, showing a good trend that the recovery is very visible happening. Yeah, then next slide, to be quickly able to talk to Lotten then much more in detail. And this is something where I would assume you all can speak to when looking at average fares recently, that the question was, has inflation impacted the travel program spending? And that there is no surprise that for airfares, high increases, hotel rates also increases there a lot, with like 34% increased spending. On the other side, rail travel seems to be where it's not that impacted by inflation, with 45% either not sure or 40% no spending increase. Same for the daily per diems and meals. So these categories seem to be less impacted by inflation, where most of the others are. And now to the last one. With this one, now I want to introduce Lotten. If we can make it happen to see her live as well, then there you are. Good.
I'm here.
Good to have you. And yeah, hopefully also some of these numbers are no surprise to you, but I think it would be so good to get the like Nordics perspective. Not saying that Nordics is one region. I know that there are very big differences in the Nordics region, so I'm not treating this as one country. But maybe from your point of view, how are your members and in the country seeing the return to travel currently?
Yeah, because in this case I do represent the Nordics, so my colleagues in Denmark, Norway, and Finland have contributed to the response, but they are very similar. It is we're not that different from each other when it comes to this. I understand that Norway was less hit by not by the pandemic, but by the stop in travel because of their marine and gas industry, which sort of kept running throughout the pandemic. So there was still some travel going on in Norway, where there was less in our countries. There is a huge increase in travel at the moment, but there are a few things that I've noticed differentiate the countries between each other, and maybe also compared to other regions. When we've been trying to have physical events and physical meetings in Sweden and in Finland, people have been a bit reluctant to join. We come, we think it's fun, but we don't come in huge numbers. And I think that has to do with the fact that in those countries, we still very much work from home. It's still allowed to stay at home for a couple of days and in the office for a few days. And that sort of has become, as you said before, when we were looking at the figures of how business travel is increasing, you mentioned, I thought that more people would be reluctant to travel now post-pandemic. And we feel that somewhat here. People are, it's quite comfortable to work from home, and it does function to work from home. So on those days where I have my office at home, I'm not as willing to get dressed and go out and attend a breakfast seminar or a meeting in the afternoon or so. So there's less physical. We're not back to 2019 when it comes to meeting in person yet in some of these countries.
It's a very interesting point that the shift in the office attendance is influencing so much the meetings willingness to attend meetings. No, absolutely. That's something we need to watch. On the other side, I don't know what I'm seeing, that there are a lot of conversations in companies around how do we get employees regularly together if they're all working from home. So how to reconnect them if you don't have the chat at the office.
Right. So you'll need to, we were talking about that because we had an architect in a seminar a few weeks ago, and with in-house architects, so she works in the buildings. And she says that we need to completely restructure the way that the office space looks today. This is nothing new, but the fun thing was how she was explaining that the office needs to become the meeting place, the thing that stimulates, that activates, where I go to have fun rather than to work, because I work better at home in many cases. So I need to have an inspiring, lively, sustainable office environment which attracts me to go to work, because if it doesn't attract me with cafes, with interaction, with food outlets that are good, then I might as well just stay at home.
No, that's good. I can't wait for this. Then that the office environment is finally changing on a much wider scale. Before, I think it was just to the big companies where we all jealously looked at their social media posts about these lovely, it looked like a hotel resort more than an office. So hopefully this will be coming more to others. So let's talk a little bit about the challenges. And before I jokingly mentioned as well, trying to call it TMC, which I assume is one of the challenges. But I would like to hear, especially from your point of view in your region, what do you see as the current challenges buyer colleagues, suppliers are facing?
Many of the companies here have not yet switched on their self-booking tools 100%, because of a couple of reasons there. One is that we're still not 100% sure that all trips are safe to do, and we need to make sure that if something happens somewhere, people can get back home again. Some countries have had regulations that have sort of made it a bit worrisome whether we send people there or not. So we're not going to open up for anyone to book. This means, of course, that there's been a higher pressure on the TMC. Just as you said, we're calling them instead. And then they don't have the people or the resources to deal with this. So the TMCs, when we're talking about it, are asking the corporates, please, can you switch on your systems, and please, can you switch on the communication channels and open more channels than just the phone line, because it's hard for us to manage. But there's a reluctance there. I think another reason for that reluctance is that many of the companies are now taking the opportunity to revise their travel policies. I think that was in your slides as well. And we're doing that with regards to both sustainability and cost, but very much making sure that now when we start traveling again, I assume it's the same in other places in Europe, but the goals now are not to go back to the 2019 volumes very soon. They're quite restricted. So we've got companies in the region that say, okay, we don't want to get back to more than 50% of what we were in 2019, which is a very tough target to have. But even 60, 70, 80% is tough. So while we're traveling less and saving money on traveling less, there's a willingness now to maybe spend a bit more money to be sustainable, to make the more sustainable choices. So we change the way we travel. And in order to do that in a sustainable way, or in a practical way, we need to adjust all the policies, we need to adjust the systems, again, the booking tools, the information to the TMC. So we're not switching everything on until we've made these adjustments in the system that we want to have in place. So there's a backlog there as well, while we're looking at how do we do this in a sustainable way, where do we get the data? We're still having people calling the TMCs.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing as well across the board, that what you exactly mentioned, that a lot of companies have not switched on the OBT again. which drives naturally more to booking offline. The other thing I heard, and you mentioned this, it's the behavior change. So we're not going back to the old world, and there are new requirements, and this needs more time. And that's what I heard from a lot of travel agency, that the average call time increased a lot compared to before. So they are not only short on staff, but they as well need longer per call. And the last bit, what I heard is from a lot of companies, that we have to remember a lot of people who joined the companies in the last 2 years have never traveled. So this is the first time for them. So you've got like people who don't know the system, then you've got people with new requirements, and then you've got people who would like to book online but can't. And I think all of this is a big burden on the TMCs at the moment. And I think that's why we really see they do their best, but it's a stretch for them. Yeah. Anything
and then
about...
there are the people, which is quite fun because someone mentioned, and then there are the people who forgot how things are done because they haven't traveled for so long. So they're insured and uncertain, and then start calling, which is another quite fun. I feel the same when I start traveling. I'm like fumbling for what do I need to bring, and oh, where are these things? And so there's a whole getting back into the routines again.
Correct, absolutely. Anything around airlines and airports, which is seems to be a fun topic. And I guess we can all survey the average wait times until a bag is delivered now.
And I can tell you that in at least here, top news is Sweden's governmental issues at the moment, where we're in a constitutional situation, or a situation where everything's at a standstill. The second highest news is the Ukraine situation, of course. But the third biggest piece of news is the lines at the airports, because people are beginning to go on holidays and it's not really working there. And I suppose when we see the news, it's the same in many other countries. So I mean, and that's also, of course, affecting the willingness to go and travel if I need to spend hours in airports where I'm used to just passing through a fast track. But let's hope that they can get this staffing situation under control before the fall starts again, because I suppose there's not going to be that much business travel in the summer.
No, definitely. I mean, what I heard is that one of the challenges with airlines is a lot of pilots retired early, and others need to get recertified or certified to the new delivered aircrafts.
Yeah.
So hopefully, but there's hope, then this will get better. Staffing at airports, that's a challenge, but as you said, hopefully they're able to recruit people. And I guess rental cars, we skip this. Everybody knows and celebrates if there is a rental car available for them. And we know the global challenge might continue for a while. Final question, looking at what is most important, what do you see as the opportunities with the challenges for either us as an association and for the industry overall?
It's the whole sustainability issue I would flag as the biggest opportunity. It's really difficult to, if you're running full speed ahead, which we were 2019, it's difficult to start building in processes around sustainability, because there's no time to really think about what you're doing, and you need to get into systems that are already up and running and hyperactive. Whereas now, when you start from scratch, more or less, it's much easier to try and change both behaviors, systems, technology, processes, policies, etc. So we have an opportunity here, which I really hope that we take as an industry to restart in a sustainable way, and to implement all these new technologies that are either here or on their way, and that we find ways of reporting and working with sustainability and figures and facts, as you were saying before.
Absolutely. And I think we can all learn from colleagues from the Nordics. as I think the sustainability area is dear to everybody's heart, because you guys definitely understood how important the planet is and have the right values. So I'm looking forward for the Nordics region to maybe lead the way on sustainability and show us what is the right behavior that maybe the rest of Europe can follow, who are less advanced on these value of sustainability in the daily life. So yeah, congrats to the Nordics region. I'm always looking to any news article from there regarding sustainability. Yeah, what are your thoughts around opportunities on the general staff shortages? Any discussions in the Nordic regions how to get people back into the tourism industry?
Yeah, it's a hard one, because as you said, I mean, this is in one way our industry is the one where young, and then I'm talking restaurants, I'm talking a lot of, hospitality industry, where a lot of young people, uneducated, can have their first jobs, where you can start a career. But it's also an industry, if we look at the TMCs, if we look at many other parts of where we are, we're quite a mature workforce with lots of experience, and you need this experience to deal with this quite complex industry we're in, if we talk about business travel. And many of them have left, as you said before, during the pandemic. They've been offered early retirement, or you found something else, or you look after your grandchildren or whatever. So I think that is a challenge today, because even if we can attract new people into the workforce, we've lost quite a lot of experience during the pandemic. And we've been talking about that here. What are they doing now? For instance, the TMCs, they really need to get people back on board. And how are they doing to attract? And as they said, it's difficult for us to work with the salary issue, because we haven't had any income for 2 years. So we need to sort of refill our chests again with money before we can start offering more money. But they are working on the, again, going back to how we've changed behaviors, they're working on offering the opportunity, for instance, to work from home. And to have different schedules than you used to before, different other sort of things that we value more today than we did before. So they're trying to be creative in attracting the experienced workforce back again. But of course, the paycheck is not what we can offer at this time, I suppose, as an industry.
Yeah, very good points. And I think what you mentioned in the beginning about our complexity of our industry, and I think that's maybe one thing we all as an industry need to think about. How can we make these jobs less complex, that you don't need to be able to go through 10 different screens and know short commands to be able to book something and follow a 20-page booklet from each client in order how to book and all this. So I think if we can take some complexity out of our own system, which has been growing over the years, then maybe we are more attractive for people from the outside. Because as you rightly said, currently our industry seems to be so complex that we kind of need these experienced people, which are hard to get. No, thanks so much for these insights there. That is so valuable, and thanks for providing this. With this, let me hand it back to Catherine to either see if there missed any other question which was asked, or close it us out.
Yeah, no, thank you both so much. And Lotten, I can testify to being out of practice with traveling as I left with no toothbrush, no phone cable. Took me about 3 hours to pack, so I'm not entirely sure how I managed that, but I did. But yes, as you say, sustainability is such an opportunity, and starting from where we are and the desire that's clearly in the industry for a more sustainable way of traveling. I just think there's that old adage, where there's a will, there's a way, and I'm sure working together we'll find it.
We're really excited that we're having this sustainability conference before the old conference that we normally do. So, and I know, again, for those who are listening, right, there is It's open for registration, and there is a package as well for those who sign up for
Yes.
both, aren't there?
That's right. So if you sign up for both the conference and the Sustainability Summit, you will save €100. So if you go via the conference site, you can do that. And anybody who has registered already for the Sustainability Summit, we will, we will honour that package price as well whenever they register for conference. But good point, Lotten. Thank you for raising that. And so I suppose just to say again, once again, Ben, Lotten, thank you so much. That was a really interesting discussion. Thank you for your time today. Thank you to everybody who attended. And I will send out the recording from this webinar. But if you have any thoughts of what you would like to see on this town hall, please let me know. And we will certainly craft it in the way that, you know, gives you the information that you want. And yeah, and look, well, we're unlikely to have another town hall before the end of the summer. So see you back in September, and thank you very much.
Thank you for having us. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.